Well, it took a while. It took many years, but all good things must come to an end. And with Resident Evil 5 holding the title of the most sold Resident Evil game of all time, eventually that torch has to be passed and records have to be broken. And unfortunately for Resident Evil 5, that torch has been passed now, as officially Resident Evil 2 Remake has taken over that title and is now officially the most sold Resident Evil game of all time. Long live the king. What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more Resident Evil 2 Remake gameplay for you. And today I'm going to be talking about the news that basically I just surmised of Resident Evil 2 Remake officially being Capcom's most sold Resident Evil title of all time. So every 6 months Capcom does a whole sales check-in of all their platinum sold titles. And of course, seeing what the last time they did it back in March of this year, we saw that the gap was getting smaller and smaller and kind of surmised that by the time they did it again, that eventually they would surpass Resident Evil 5, which officially now, as of the end, when they did this thing again in September, it is revealed the numbers now, it has finally claimed the title for itself. And as I said, Resident Evil 5 has held this title for a very long time, but eventually, records and sales eventually do get broken, and Resident Evil 2 Remake was able to do this in just shy of, I want to say 7 years. It came out, I believe, late January of 2019, so not quite 7 years, but about, 6 and 2/3 years, so you get the point. Still impressive nonetheless. And it's a little bit nostalgic for me because a little fun story about me. While Resident Evil 4 was the first Resident Evil game I ever played, Resident Evil 5 was the first Resident Evil game I got the day it came out. And I still remember that. I still remember I got the collector's edition with a little tri-cell bag and the BSA badge and stuff like that. So it's a little bit nostalgic for me thinking, man, way back when I got this game, that game will eventually be the most sold Resident Evil title and hold that title for many, many years to come. But eventually it has been surpassed. But what's kind of telling is I was looking at the top list of Resident Evil games being sold. And, number one, obviously, is Resident Evil 2 Remake. Number two, obviously, Resident Evil 5. But right behind it is Resident Evil 7. And more than likely, probably by next year, it's probably going to surpass even 5. So that'll be more than likely the number 2 entry at the rate it's going. So that's pretty impressive. And once again, another title of that RE Engine era. But the one that gets me, and I still can't get over this, is, Resident Evil 2 Remake is number 1, Resident Evil 5 is 2, Resident Evil 7 is 3, but number 4, you'll never guess in a million years, is Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 is the 4th most sold Resident Evil game, slightly beating Resident Evil 4. That's right. Resident Evil 4, one of the games that's looked at as, well, depending on who you ask in the Resident Evil community, let's just be honest, but more times than not, most people look at it, its impact on the industry as one of the greatest games ever made, period. But yeah, even that lags by a small amount, but still lags behind Resident Evil 6. So Resident Evil 6 is the 4th most sold Resident Evil game, and Resident Evil 4 is the 5th most sold. So I was just like, damn, who would have thunk that, And that's just kind of crazy when you think about it. But nonetheless, that's how it goes in the top 5. But what's also interesting is that I do believe that you look at some of the other titles, Resident Evil Village has done pretty well, and being it's 4 years out, it's over 12 million, so it's in that spot. And then Resident Evil 4 Remake is right at over 11 million right now, and the way that's going, because it's selling even faster, it's only been out for a little over 2.5 years, it probably more than likely the way it's going to probably have a good claim of being that number 1 overall selling title as time goes on. But I want to leave you this because I just don't want to talk about sales. I want to just ask you guys this question. Is that obviously the newer titles, whether they're remakes or brand new titles, they're selling really well compared to a lot of the older titles. And I know one big caveat is there's a lot more people playing games now more than ever before. So my question to you is, do you think maybe that's the biggest reason why Capcom is so opposed to ignoring their roots just because they see the success sales wise with the newer titles and from the RE Engine era with Resident Evil 7, 2 Remake. I mean, for goodness sakes, Resident Evil 3 Remake has over 10 million units. It's also in the a top 10 selling Resident Evil game, for goodness sake. So that, as much as that game gets flacked on, it still sold a pretty damn good, decent amount. So if that thing, as much flack as it got, if it's selling that much, does that possibly mean that's maybe the biggest indicator of why they don't want to go back to that old school way? And once again, I'm not saying that they have to change forever, because I've always been on the belief that I feel like you can have the best of both worlds. Like, maybe for your big budget game, you go more, how it is in today's Resident Evil titles, the newer titles or remakes or something. But maybe a lower budget title, you can go back to the old school way, that, classic camera angle way, and just kind of get the best of both worlds. Because I feel like Resident Evil would be even more effective if they had multiple releases, but they're different tones and styles of games, if you get my meaning and drift. We know that the newer games, or I guess the remakes, are probably going to be more how they've been in the past, more, the over-the-shoulder, kind of more tailor-made to the audience playing today. They're buying these games and buying them more now than ever before. But also maybe have some smaller budget Resident Evil games there for the old school fans. Because at the end of the day, I'm just kind of looking at it, trying to put on my business cap, trying to be a businessman. It's like, I want to make as much money as possible. I don't want to cut off one fan group and completely just say, the hell with them, enough. Not to mention, if you do that old school way, you may actually attract even new fans who might not still have the opportunity to see the old school way and maybe feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad, because I've always heard some people get kind of like scared or off by it, which, at the end of the day, it's your choice whether you want to play it or not. I'm not here to force anyone to, but I would like to see the best of both worlds. I always feel like people always say, well, the sales are great for new ones. Why would I ever go back? And I get all that. I still think the old ones could sell well if they were given an actual chance. If you gave an actual Resident Evil game made in today's world, that old school way, I'm not saying it would be the most sold thing of all time, but it'd be highly successful. I still believe that. Maybe one day it can be materialized and happen, but until then, maybe we can just hope and maybe materialize it for the fans itself. But at the end of the day, as I always like to say, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. How do you feel about Resident Evil 2 Remake being the most sold Resident Evil title of all time? Do you think it deserves that? Are you happy for it? Maybe you're not. Maybe you have mixed opinions. Who knows? How do you feel about the whole top 5? Are you shocked that Resident Evil 6 is a top 5 sold Resident Evil title, actually even more than Resident Evil 4 of all things? And do you think because of the sales, is that like the biggest indicator of why Capcom refuses to go back to the old titles, just because when compared to sales from the older days, granted there wasn't as many people playing games back then, that's the thing they look at, and that's why they don't want to change from what they're doing right now. Let me know down in the comment section down below, but thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.